What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Prop Wiz. I'm your host, Wiz. Today, we'll be focusing on doing some modifications on the 1989 Batmobile by McFarlane. I did a box opening of this a few weeks ago, and I discussed doing some modifications, and the time has finally come to knock that out. I'm gonna be honest with you, some of this is gonna be super easy and very basic. The only thing that I'm worried about is some of the adjustments I'm gonna be doing to the canopy. Basically, I got this vehicle that I spent $60 on. It was very difficult to find. If you saw my video, I was only able to find one of them, and now we're standing at this crossroads where I gotta decide whether I want to cut into this. Basically, what I'm saying is this canopy is not going to be an easy fix. I'm actually going to have to cut into this plastic, essentially destroying it and putting it back together, molding it, using some epoxy. And on the subject of epoxy, I've never used epoxy sculpt before. So this would be my first time. I'm risking it on this, but I think it'd be worth it, just making this thing look more accurate to the movie. Okay, the canopy is the hard part. The little bit easier part is taking this thing apart, preparing it for paint. So we'll go ahead and knock that out now. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I only see screw holes on the bottom. So it looked like we got about 7 or 8 screw holes that we can unscrew, and let's do that, man, and see what we got. Okay, y'all, got all the screws out, and looks like the body comes off easy. Okay, so that's cool. So we got no pieces really connected to the bottom. We just got the wheels on there. I am gonna paint the wheels, so at some point I might be looking at how I can remove the wheels, or at the very least just mask it off where I can paint that. But that is cool that we're able to put that to the side. It looked like all the removable pieces are in this top part. And look, some stuff come off with no unscrewing needed. All right, I can feel the fragility of this plastic. Like I can hear it kind of bending, sounding like it's gonna break. Okay, the good news is that, wow, cockpit seats and everything comes right out. Now this definitely, at the very least, gets the cockpit out. So that's good. This is one of the main things. Like I said, we're gonna be cutting into this. To have this disconnected from this completely is gonna make that process go a lot easier. Okay, what else? Kind of want these engine parts. I can see where these things, the whole side slides off. Okay. Whew. I was able to get this piece out. Does feel like I could have broke something. Okay. All right. I was able to get it out. I feel like that was a riskful move, as I am kind of just bending this thing to the point where I could break it if I bend it the wrong way. And there was a randomness to how I was bending that. Like basically I was just finagling it until it came loose. So cool. There's a few more parts on here that I would like to get off, namely the turbine engine, which to be honest with you is not the worst color. If I can't get it out, I might just go ahead and just leave that color. But just like with everything, it'll be a lot easier to paint this whole thing black if I'm able to remove the turbine engine. Okay, for the most part, I think that's it for in here, y'all. Like I said, there's a couple of little parts I wouldn't mind taking apart. But for the most part, I think we got enough to at least get started, mask up a few areas and paint, and or decide maybe I'll probably actually start with this. Because if this canopy, if I can't get this thing to look the way it needs to look and I cut into it and end up messing up, then this whole project will be a waste. And so this is my telltale sign on whether I even continue versus doing it reverse where I paint this whole thing, get it perfect, and then start working on this and mess it up and the whole thing is ruined. Yeah, we'll start with this first. We're going to rock this downstairs on the workbench, all right? Let's go. Okay, I'm back again. Probably for you, I never even left. But this is a few days later. It's not that painting this took a long time, or that shouldn't have took a long time, but I did have a lot to do, including checking out that Flash movie twice. And I did run into a couple of issues with the painting. Nothing real big. It was really self-inflicted stuff that I was just trying to be a little extra man. It didn't work out, but I was still able to arrive to the end point, I think, pretty dope. Of course, the biggest part of the project was the canopy. And in fact, I'm looking at it, there's still some spots I need to paint. Just some touch-ups here. Just looking at it from the down position, which nobody will. I can see where I left some of the putty. Still needs to be painted, which just highlights the challenge of this bad boy. I mean, essentially I had to mold a whole nother piece or a portion of the piece in order to make the windows more narrow. And this was my first time working with the epoxy. I use epoxy sculpt. Actually, first time working with any kind of clay in this kind of way, where I actually had to mold something, sand it out. Usually I use clay and stuff like that to fill holes, and I would put like a spot putty on there on top of it to kind of smooth it out. Whereas in this was all nothing but the epoxy. So real fun, man. It just opens up the possibilities, yo, including the Batwing that I have in the garage. It's been in the garage for probably 4 months now. I think I got discouraged with the sanding. It was a lot of sanding, a lot of detailed pieces to sand around. Plus there was quite a few gaps, probably from the 3D print, a lot of gaps in the wing. And I really didn't know how I was going to go about filling those gaps. Or I had some ideas, but they were going to be hard. Whereas in this, just opened up the possibility for something that was a lot easier to work with, a lot easier to sand. The sanding process of this was real easy. So love that. So the hardest part was accomplished. The easy part was this, except for just masking certain parts. I did end up taking out the turbine engine. I already put it back in. I was so excited the way it looked, just wanted to see what it looked like. So I already put that back in, and it snapped back in. Hard to get out. I didn't want to take it back out for the video out of fear of scratching it. But I did have some problems with this. Again, this was the self-inflicted thing I was talking about. So I had painted it with just a flat black primer. I actually love the way that looked. The primer that I use just comes out real smooth, real nice. Looked at it, it was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna keep it that color. I let it sit overnight. Me just knowing that the actual Batmobile has a little bit of gloss to it. I didn't want it as glossy as what McFarlane did to his. I thought it looked too plasticky, but I did want just a little bit of gloss. So I ended up hitting it with a black gloss, and the paint didn't come out good. So I had to sand it down, repainted it again, used the primer, and then I ended up hitting it with another gloss, another spray can, and the paint just didn't look right. It looked better than it did the first time, and it's like it wasn't bubbling or nothing. It was just a texture to it that looked good outside. When I brought it under these lights, it just didn't look. So I had got all the way to the point where I'm sitting right now, had the Batmobile here, ready to videotape, the put together, looked at it, man, and was like, nah. I think I'd rather the flat black primer than the actual paint. So I went back and painted it. So what ended up happening is there's a shine under it. I hit it with the primer. I can kind of see it. It's not glossy at all, but it's a little bit of shine to it compared to just the flat primer. So I don't know if that's how I layered it, the fact that it was layered, because I didn't sand it the last time. I just hit the primer right on top of the glossy paint. And anyway, like the way it came out, and most importantly, it looks smooth. There's almost no discrepancies with the body at all, so that's cool. Now, all the metal parts I did paint with a silver. I used actually an aluminum airbrush paint. To me, that just gives it a more real look to it. And then I hit it with some blues and some purples, a little bit of red in there, just to give it that burnt, used look. And the blues and reds in here, I was actually referencing my 1/6 scale Batmobile. I know it's absolutely ridiculous how much I trust Hot Toys. I looked at their 1/6 scale vehicle versus looking at actual photos. But anyway, I think that effect is cool. I did the same thing with the turbine engine. Didn't really see that in the pictures. I think mine downstairs is completely clean and silver. I've seen some pictures of the Batmobile. It's completely clean looking, but I just thought it would be cool just to have that burn look. So I did the same thing, hit it with the blue, red. I skipped the purple because the red on top of the blue mixed with the silver gave it this purplish shine. So I thought that was cool. So that's dope. Same thing with these little vents, man. Painted the inside silver, left the outside black. So very accurate, I think. And the turbine engine, I actually painted it with a glossy black and then just lightly hit it with that same aluminum airbrush paint. So when you look at it up close, it looks silver. You look at it from far away, it looks black. And the reason I did that because some of the pictures of the Batmobile, sometimes it looks black, sometimes it looks silver. Again, I have the Batmobile downstairs, the 1/6 scale one downstairs, same thing. It just depends. You look at it, sometimes it looks, I know it's silver. When you get close enough, it looks silver. But from far away, it looks black. And accuracy, film accuracy is a funny thing, man, because a lot of times you're going off perception. Famously, the Ghostbuster uniforms is a khaki color, but when you look at it in the film, it almost looks gray. In fact, I got a poster over here on the wall. It looks 100% light gray. So when you go to make a Ghostbusters uniform, do you make it accurate by what you know what color it is, or do you go by what you see, you know? So it's always a catchy thing. And of course, you're always probably going to win better by going by what you see, because that's what people are going to remember. So that was the idea here. Of course, I failed on that a little bit because it doesn't have that glossy look. I just didn't like it for this. And I thought it was cool. I think I did a better job than McFarlane Toys, man, which says a lot. But enough chit chat, man. Let's put this bad boy together. And I'm going to put a sheet down so I don't scratch this thing. It's funny, I did find out later that I broke a piece off, which is letting me know where this part goes right here, because the broken piece is still there. I don't know how cool I looked when I was taking this thing apart, but some of these parts I actually kind of just ripped out, man. I couldn't slide them out. Some of them were stuck in properly in a way where, you know, I had to bend the plastic, or like I said, just flat out break some of the parts to take it out. So I don't know if that's going to make it difficult putting some of this thing back together, but so far so good. Looked like I did scratch my perfect paint a little bit. And this is the reason why most people do some kind of dry fitting or fit it together before you paint it, because this process that I'm doing now is definitely taking the risk of scratching something, which again, I already have to an extent, but even something like this, having to put some of these pieces in, would have easily scratched something. But just lucky that particular part, the piece that I scratched up, was actually inside the little slot, so you won't be able to see it. Okay, y'all, we got the screws in, but I do have 2 screws left, so that means I'm missing something. I don't know what it is, but there are a couple of pieces in here that I glued down on the inside, so it might be one of those pieces. All right, cool. Take a look at that bad boy, y'all. It looks awesome. Oh, man. Of course, this is the wrong Batman to have standing next to him, man, but it could pass. Almost look like he belongs there, don't it? Okay, it looks good. I scuffed it in a couple of areas. It's actually not that bad, to be honest with you. Like, I'm looking at it, it doesn't look that bad to me now. The good news with the paint that I did use and the area, it blends real well. Like, I can just kind of just hit those spots and not do a whole complete coat. It just blends in real well. The bad news about the paint that I use is that it probably is easy to scuff or scratch, because there's no protective coat. I didn't put no protective coat. So this has literally been painted with primer, with black primer. And I might do that. I might just hit it with a clear coat, just a little bit, just a dash. Like I said, my paints have been acting funny, but again, I'm in Georgia. Georgia heat, the humidity is a beast. So more than likely, that's what was going on with my paint. My paint just wasn't reacting very well to the environment. I was basically painting in the wrong environment. I was in the garage, but the garage door was open. So it might just be as simple as that. I'm going to test it out, or might just take it to the backyard where it's a little bit cooler. Actually, I think I got one of those paint tents, man. Might be a good reason to bring that out. But again, y'all, vast improvement from the way that it was when I took it out of the box. I did a whole review. The review wasn't bad. I liked it. I told you what my complaints were. It was only 2 things. It was the window and the fact that the canopy was, you know, slightly gray. We fixed it. And not only did we fix that issue, we hooked up the whole thing. You know, the silvers look silver. Got rid of that little corny little gold bat symbol that was on the tires. The only thing I didn't do that I see a couple of people out there doing is they made the lights real and they put the machine guns under there. My favorite Batmobile, as crazy as it sounds, is the one without the machine guns. That machine gun scene in the '89 Batman film was literally maybe like 5 seconds. The whole scene in Access Chemical was longer, but the actual machine guns popping out and going back in was probably like 3 to 5 seconds. So as iconic as that shot is, man, it just ain't enough for me to display it like that. Now, if I get my hands on another McFarlane Batmobile, which I'm still looking for another one, you know, just because that'll change how I might display or paint that. If I get another one of those, I'll probably definitely be more brave in my modification and cut some of these things out and make that happen. But again, something that's going to be sitting on the shelf. If I can get the Batman, I got the Batman from the Flash movie, but I had the NECA Batman, the 1989 Batman that NECA made. I had it, I want to say like the leg or the foot broke off or something, and I put it somewhere safe, and I don't know where I put it. So if I'm able to find that bad boy, that's actually what I'm going to have displayed next to him. It's crazy because I think the leg broke off way before I was doing this kind of stuff. So when the leg broke off, it was like devastating. Like the idea of even gluing it back together or fixing it didn't even cross my mind. I just put it somewhere. Knew I didn't want to get rid of it because it's Michael Keaton, but I had no intentions of fixing it. So of course the game has changed, man. So might need to look for that. Anyways, that's it for this modification, man. Again, another real simple modification. This is something that I didn't have to do from scratch. A couple of hard parts molding this piece for the canopy. Look, I don't even know if this thing opens. It's like I'm scared to even scratch the paint. Like, I'm not putting no figures in there. Whatever figure I have is going to be displayed on the outside because, again, this thing looks cool with the canopy closed. But overall, I love it, man. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, man. Leave me some comments. Did you get this? Did you update it? What were your challenges? Is there something you would do different if you updated? There's a lot of people that did this modification right here. Man, I follow a couple. In fact, there's one cat that I follow named Tristan. They go by Tris Toys, TRS _ toys. I'll put a link on there. Man, he did one that was beautiful, that had the working front lights, back lights, man. Just beautiful job, man. And there was one that I seen on Reddit that I kind of followed very closely. In fact, man, I've seen like 3 or 4 of them. They all might be the same person because you see something on TikTok, you see something on Reddit, and of course on Instagram, man. So Tristan was the only one that I saw that there was a name connected to it that I remember. Very, very dope, man. Very, very inspiring, and just opens the doors of possibilities, man. So check that out, man. But again, still leave your comments. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. As always, love you guys to death, and I'll check you out next time, right? Peace.